Hello, Power fans of Mathonical. Join me for round 5 with Affinity. We're going to be going for that big 5-0. Our opening hand, I do not like it. That's way too many lands off the start and a Springleaf Drum into some Myr Enforcer eventually. Not a fan. Send that one back. This one is much, much better. We're going to be able to have a turn 1 play into a turn 2 choice of either Frogmite or Carapace Forger. So definitely keeping this one. Land on top. It's a blue source. I don't want it. I'm going to send that one back. Alright, let's see how this goes. Elvish Mystic, so it looks like we're going to be playing against Elves, so I'm just going to get this Carapace Forger down, and we just got to kind of race them in game 1 and hope it's good enough. Here, I'm going to go ahead and keep up this Metallic Rebuke, since our opponent is likely to cast something we don't want them to have next turn. Let's try and stop them. Let's see what it is. Lead the Stampede. Yeah, that's something we don't want them to have. So we're going to try and prevent our opponent from having nice things. And hope maybe we can get there fast enough. Let's see what we draw. Thoughtcast, I like the sound of that. Unfortunately didn't draw a red source, but another 4/4 gives us winning chances, so we're going to go ahead and attack with those. Our opponent does block to kind of keep their life total high, and they do have another lead the Stampede. So things aren't looking too great there. They did end up finding 4 things. They play the Llanowar Elves. The Well-Wisher is essentially game over if we don't find a Galvanic Blast, so let's hope that doesn't happen. Opponent goes for the chump block. We're going to go for the hope for something with the red. Play the Atog. So here we go. Opponent plays the Well-Wisher. We either need to win this turn or we need to kill the Well-Wisher. We don't have a red source, so even if we draw the Galvanic Blast, it's not going to work out. Yeah, things aren't looking too good. I'm just going to go for the attack in to see if our opponent gets a little scared, but our opponent knows what's up, and they just kind of keep their life total at 2, which is high enough for them. Another lead the Stampede, so they're going to be able to get some Elves out. They're really looking for that Quirion Ranger, which they did find. So at this point, we really... the only way we have of winning the game is if somehow next turn we go like Prophetic Prism into Galvanic Blast, kill the Well-Wisher, and yeah, it's just not looking good. So our opponent here did cast the Quirion Ranger, so it looks like the game is messing up. Yeah, I'm actually surprised. They do have they do have the Quirion Ranger here, and they are gaining a ton of life. So this is just Moto completely bugging out a little bit. But you can kind of see the picture. They're starting to gain a ton of life off of this. We did end up finding a red source, and we have an Atog, but since we didn't have a way of killing that Well-Wisher that one turn, since they're gaining, I believe, like somewhere in the order, like as the board sits right now, they're gaining 6 life off of every activation. They do have a Quirion Ranger on the board, and they did cast some more spells, so very quickly they're up to 30 or 40 life. So even if we did manage to draw like a Fling or something at this point, it's not going to be enough. So this is the point of the game where I'd normally concede. Our opponent was, as you can see by the time, they were taking quite a bit of time. So my thought was they're a little bit inexperienced with Elves and are learning it, so to give them the opportunity to completely learn their deck, I just kind of started watching some YouTube as the game was going on, was F6ing, let them go through all the motions, and hey, it also gives us the benefit of possibly putting our opponent under time pressure later on, so that's how game 1 went. Completely crushed us in that one. But we do have a very good sideboard plan against Elves. We're going to be able to bring in both of the Shamans. That's going to help us quite a bit. And, well, the Krark-Clan Shamans. We don't need the Gorilla Shaman. We also want the 2 Electrickeries. They can help us out quite a bit. Even though their Metallic Rebuke did look pretty nice there, being able to counter their Lead the Stampede, in general, Elves does not have mana issues later on in the game, since they have Priest Titania and whatever the elf is that lets you tap 2 elves for mana. The name is escaping me at the moment, but that is okay. Let's see, we're going to take out 1 Ancient Den. If I don't know what else to trim, I've just been trimming the 17th land, and we're also going to take out 1 Fling. Let's see, we're also going to take out, yeah, those 4 cards for 4 Sweepers. Let's see if it's good enough. our opening hand. This is, in my opinion, it's a pretty good hand. It's a little sketch. We are depending on our Carapace Forger plus Springleaf Drum to be able to get down the Shaman. And this hand is fairly susceptible to lethal sabotage blowing up our lands, but we don't really have many other options. So we're going to go ahead and keep this one. Just completely banking on how good the Shaman can be in this matchup. Our opponent plays an Elves. I really don't want to show them that we have the Shaman. I want to let them build out their board. So I'm going to go ahead and just play out a lot of these. Here it would be reasonable to play out the Shaman and kind of just sweep up their creatures, but because we drew the Flayer Husk here off of the Thoughtcast, I really want to set up Shaman with the Flayer Husk on it, so that way we can repeatedly kill all ones in the game. So we're going to take the slightly riskier route and just play out everything else and hope that we don't lose both of our lands this next turn. Even if we did lose both lands, we would still be able to cast the Shaman. So our opponent just plays out a Huntmaster, and then they play out some addition, like a Visionary after the fact, so they're going to be left with 3 cards in hand. It looks pretty good to me to play the Shaman. Oh, and then our opponent decides to play even more, so they're going to have less than that in hand. So here, we're just going to go ahead and do the plan as mentioned. We're going to equip the Flayer Husk to the Shaman. We're going to sack 1 artifact, so that draws us a card, and swing in with everything. So we're in a very good position here. Our opponent plays Aquarian Ranger and does concede. Shaman winning games. Going over to game number 3. In the sideboard, didn't change anything. Actually, I think I might have actually. I actually brought the Flings back in, I believe, just because they can remove things, and I took out I brought the Fling back in and took out the Rage, just because the Fling in a pinch can kill a creature. Yes, let's go with that. Taking a look at our opening hand. So this one, in my opinion, is a little sketchy. We do have a turn 1 play in the Chromatic Star, and that would allow us to cast the Shaman, but without drawing something off of the top, we can't do anything else with this hand. The power of the Shaman alone is really good, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it, and just kind of believe in the heart of the cards. Something off the top has to be relevant, right? Let's see what our opponent has. Our opponent did mulligan to 6, so that might give us some additional chances. And land off the top. No, another Shaman. That's not that great for us. Well, it does allow us to not really worry about just kind of blowing up one Shaman to wipe them out. So we're just going to get the Shaman out there. I really am not going to blow up our land unless something crazy happens. So our opponent's going to get the beats on. That makes sense to me. And if we don't do anything else, we're just going to play this Flayer Husk and blow up their board, and that's what we're going to do. So goodbye 5 Elves. See what our opponent has to rebuild. Sentinel and a Mystic. That's fine by us. Alright, so now we're back in business. Being able to play the Prophetic Prism, get another land, so this is where things are looking pretty good for us. The Huntmaster we're not too concerned about. We're just going to be able to play the Forger and use... well, I had a few different options there, and like we could have played the Forger and then just used the Prophetic Prism with Galvanic Blast to remove the Huntmaster, but I don't mind taking 3 damage here, being able to play out the Springleaf Drum as well. We really do want to get as many artifacts online as possible to be able to just unload our hand. So that's why we took this route. Getting a bit of damage is fine by us. Our opponent plays a Timberwatch Elf, and they have no cards in hand. So now we're just going to play as much as we can and then cast this Shaman, using it for 2. Make sure you hold control to hold priority. Of course, in this situation, because we have the Chromatic Star, sacking the Chromatic Star gives us priority to the response of drawing a card. But make sure you are holding priority whenever you're using the Shaman, since the first activation would kill itself and you would be able to activate it again. So yeah, just activate it twice. blow up all their creatures. We're going to get in for some damage. And we even have an Electrickery to just kind of follow things up. And since we drew another one, I'm just going to kill their creature. Going to get in for the 8 damage. Our opponent does have a Lead the Stampede off the top, but unfortunately there isn't really anything they can do with it, so they just ship everything to the bottom, and we win. So we did manage to get the big 5-0. I'm going to have a wrap-up after this, but thank you very much for joining me through this series. Affinity has been quite fun, and I will see you in the wrap-up.